an instrumental part of Agora Worldwide, Agora Worldwide, Agora Worldwide. Counter economics, Agorist strip, black market click, move a quick flip, can't regulate this. Agorist strip, black market click, move a quick flip, can't regulate this. Agorist,
Agorist,
Agorist, Nexus, Agorist.
This is the Agorist Nexus podcast. I'm Brandon. I've got my great co-host Dag. How you doing, Dag?
I'm doing excellent, man. How you doing?
Pretty good. We want to give everyone some news, and as an Agorist, I think markets are extremely important. So we've got a lot of market news, even if it's like somewhat statist markets. A lot of things can, and we do have some stuff that's like that Agorists use a lot, like silver. So we'll cover silver.
And we're bringing down the system. So
yeah, and we're bringing down the system with that one. That's right. And yeah, and then some of it's just kind of like status markets. But I believe that looking at status markets, we can learn a lot from it. And then it does sometimes, how do I want to put this? It does sometimes affect us in our daily lives too. So, but yeah, before we get into it, huge shout out to Presearch as always. They're definitely keeping us going. I can't personally thank them enough, and not only that, but they've got a great product where you can earn cryptocurrency for searching and not get spied on. So that alone is like a no-brainer. And on top of that, you've got my favorite dark mode. So and Presearch dark mode just looks great, especially if you're in a more low light situation. You don't have the white bright stuff in your face all the time. But yeah, I definitely love Presearch. Check them out. We've got affiliate links if you'd like to support us, and that not only helps us, but it also shows Presearch that we're worth sponsoring. So yeah, that would be, I can't thank you enough for doing that.
Dude, I've got quite a bit of Presearch tokens just from searching accumulated at this point. It's like you get a little bit every time you use it, and you're like, oh, this will never add up to anything. And it's like, I don't know, man, like I've got like over 70 of them just from searching, and it's like, I'm like, okay, that's actually worth like some money, like that's actually like a few bucks, right? And it's like, you can't say that about like any other search engine, that I end up getting something, out of the deal, and it's a great product all around. So super cool. I logged into Float today, and I caught, like, when I say the tail end, I mean like the last like 3 seconds of I think it was Colin on there doing a live stream about Presearch, and I was so bummed that like I missed it, but it was just cool to see them. I'm like, oh, hey, I know those guys,
Yeah, man. Yeah, I was doing the same thing. I did a lot of searches, like when Presearch was like a penny, and then it shot up to like 10 cents, and I'm like, well, I've actually got an amount of Presearch.
It adds up over time, just the amount of using. Like I said, I can't believe I'm up to so many. Like it just, just happens. But when you search, 37 times a day, it
right?
It adds up pretty quick.
Yeah, it does. And who knows where there's a max supply of Presearch tokens. So who knows where the price could be? I mean, if it shoots up to $1.50 or $2 a coin, who knows how much money you'll get just by searching.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's really interesting the crypto. I don't want to get hung up on this too much tonight, but like just the cryptos that are really like utility, like really specific utility purpose, something. So like the Presearch coin, it's used for like their advertising and everything. So it's like that's sort of a big part, if not what gives it value. Is just really interesting compared to, let's say, something that people might use more for like day-to-day regular trade. I guess like the library, LBRY token, I forget what they call it, but like that has a real specific use among that sort of ecosystem. And it's just interesting, man. This is just such a crypto and blockchain in general. There's just so many amazing new things and concepts and stuff. It's just like, I don't want to sound too corny, but it's just like the fucking future. It's like we're really seeing something really cool here. And I don't know. I hope that's the case.
And yeah, we are seeing something cool, and people usually benefit by getting in earlier. So yeah.
Oh yeah. If I have one more person tell me, oh, I'll probably miss the boat, I don't want to sound too cliche, but I'm like, oh, have fun being poor. Like,
yeah.
I'm just not even gonna bother because I missed the boat. It's like, dude, like it's currency that's gonna get value. Like you're never missing the boat until you're wheelbarrowing your cash around to buy stuff.
Exactly. So with that said, guys, we'll move on here, but we really do love Presearch for sure. Thank you to them. They're keeping us alive, and we're able to produce content because of them. So But with that said, what do we want to get into first, Dag? I think 3D printing, right?
Yeah, I got this 3D printing article here that I got a kick out of, and it really actually kind of struck me when I saw it. It's pretty new. It's from the 21st. The title is Fingerprint for 3D printer accurate 92% of the time. And this is actually something that I thought of, or I mean, sure it's not a unique thought, but I noticed, I guess like I say, I was using my printer and I printed a couple items, and I noticed among the items it had a similar pattern on it. And basically what it was there was like a piece of trash in one of the rails on my printer. So it was causing this artifact in the same spot. And I got to thinking, and I'm like, dude, like, I bet you they can forensics, look at a bullet, compare it to another bullet, came out of different guns, you know, blah, blah, blah. I was like, man, I bet you they could really use something like this to really, you know, link you to things or link printers to particular items that they don't like or they want to be linked to for some reason. And that's not actually how this one works. But anyhow, all I did was I cleaned the rails and got rid of that. So, you know, keep your printers clean. But basically, there's this professor, and he sees this big problem with 3D printers that you can make all sorts of scary things like guns and illegal assault rifles, and using his wording. And also he sees as a threat to intellectual property. So he's trying to come up with ways that we can actually like fingerprint these things. And one of the things that he's done is he wrote a paper about it, and basically he's able to look at a print, determine what brand of hot end extruder, etc., made the print, and then within that they're actually able to supposedly with 92% accuracy figure out what printer made the item. So let's say they have 40, you know, printers of the same brand and style, and they're able to match which ones print, you know, certain things. So he's like, okay, this is great because, you know, people making stuff that you shouldn't be making because of IP or, you know, illegal scary weapons, you know, they're able to track them. And I mean, like, I don't know, dude, it's just the wording of people like this is just so creepy, you know. Basically, you know, he throws out there, oh, 3D printers are a national security issue, they threaten intellectual property rights, which, you know, is silly all the way around because of course 3D printers aren't actually, you know, you're not able to, it's technology that makes things easier, right? But it's like people aren't going to just start being violent because 3D printers exist. You know, we make the same argument with guns. You know, just because guns are around, you know, doesn't mean that people are going to be violent. You know, they're going to be violent either way, right? But yeah, man, it's just kind of funny. Let's see here. Okay, here's something that's really great that he says, and this just shows you where his mind's at. Jin, the gentleman in question, compared the process to using a laptop to write a letter because software exists that can track keystrokes. An observer can see every step that went into the letter, including the writer's unique writing style. Similarly, because of the unique properties of each 3D printer's extruder, a researcher can examine the specific manner in which a 3D printed object was made, compared to a database of various extruders until a match is made. So once the model printer is identified, the purchaser said model can be tracked down if they had, say, used a printer to build an illegal assault rifle. So just his whole comparison with the laptop, like it's just no big deal. Like, hey, look, we have software that can just track keystrokes, you know, on people's laptops, and we can just see about how they write letters, you know, like that's not already like a creepy like invasion of privacy that he's just saying it like that, you know. But then also when he says use a printer to build an illegal assault rifle, we go down the same argument that you do with like 80% lowers. Well, you know, you don't do the whole rifle, so you know what may or may not be illegal about it was just a part that isn't a regulated part, etc. Doesn't matter anyhow. But he goes on and sort of wraps up by saying that what he wants to do is have a way to where printers have to have some sort of watermark. So when they print something, they will be identifiable not just by the brand, but by the actual serial number itself. Now, of course, this would take some sort of incredible government act, you know, to make that like a law. Of course, these things are made all over the world. People could always just build their own, you know, there's really nothing they could do about it if people wanted to get around it, you know. But it's interesting, and I definitely think we're going to see a lot of talk like this, you know, coming up. You know, talk about 3D printing guns and stuff has obviously been pretty hot lately in, you know, political circles.
And there are 3D printer like non KYC. We do know a guy. Saul Mayweather's got a 3D printer go burr.
Yeah, it's definitely a good way to go. And when people are talking about stuff like this, you know.
Yeah, get a 3D printer that's, you know, they won't know. Okay, we know it's this brand, but we don't know where it came from, you know, type of thing.
3D printing's funny because it's like the vast majority of people that own them are just, you know, hobbyists, or they're printing miniatures, or it's for fun, and they're not doing I mean, not that printing like guns or anything is illegal, but you know, they're not doing stuff like that with them, you know. But it is nice to have the option of just, you know, like, oh, I just don't want them to know, you know, even for like, you know, like building some of the 3D printed guns, like sourcing parts and everything. Like, you know, you buy the stuff from Alibaba or whatever, or you might be able to find it locally, you know, if you want to put in the legwork to find some of these odd parts. And it's like, yeah, by itself, none of the stuff is like illegal, but it's almost like, oh man, do I really want to order this combination of stuff, you know, all at once from Alibaba or something, you know?
Mhm.
So, you know, you want to be mindful, I guess, you know, again, even if you're not doing something illegal in this sense, it's like, I don't know, man, I don't
Yeah, I
know. I
mean,
don't want to end up on another list.
yeah. Well, let's say you do end up, and here's the problem with this. Let's say you make something for a friend, right? And whatever that item may be, let's say that item is somehow associated with the crime scene somehow. Then they're tracing it back to you. So it's kind of like a, even if you're not doing anything wrong type of scenario,
Dude,
it's you still
it's like,
don't. Yeah,
yeah.
it's like just because I'm not doing anything illegal doesn't mean I want you to search my home, because the thing is that there's so many laws out there that I'm pretty sure, and you know, the average person breaks like what, 3 laws a
Three
day,
felonies
or
a day.
yeah,
Yeah.
3 felonies a day or something. So, I mean, so even though I'm not doing anything wrong, it doesn't mean I want you to search my house, because I'm sure you could find something in my house that's, you know,
Also, I just
breaking
don't want
some kind of
strangers.
stupid law. And besides, there's so many laws now with county, state, and fed. There's over like 200,000 laws per person. The question that I like to ask people is, if you inputted every single law into a robot, and that robot was to enforce all those laws, would you want that robot living with you? And you know, even strict Democrats say absolutely not. So, you know,
That's
even,
creepy.
yeah, exactly. Even if you're not doing anything wrong, you still don't want to be tracked because of just, you know, even if you're just helping a friend and you make him a part or something, you
Well,
could be putting
sometimes it's
yourself into a bad situation.
yeah, it can be unwitting too. Like, I mean, one of my biggest fears is like buying a used car and there being like some sort of like something from like a crime, you know, like hidden in it and you don't even know, you know, or like, or what if you buy the printer secondhand, you know, and the dude who had it before you was, you know, making lowers or something, you know, and you never even made them, but it's going to match your printer, you know. So there's just so much like, you know, and even like you were alluding to there, like, you know, false. It's easy to, a lot of times circumstantially, it can be easy to look guilty, you know, and it's like, even when something doesn't, you know, isn't your fault and it's, you know, or you know, like happening upon a crime scene. You know, like I actually know a guy who um his friend had like he was like he was going to meet his friend and his friend had like had a heart attack and like drowned in the lake and he's sitting there waiting for his friend and didn't know he had like drowned and died. Anyhow, called the cops when couldn't find him, just the guy's car was there and they suspected him, like they brought him in for questioning and this and that he had killed his friend, you know, and I'm like, dude, that is just terrifying, you know, to think that, you know, like things like that. You know, Shawshank Redemption kind of thing. It's my worst nightmare. Sorry, went off on a tangent about it.
It
So
reminds me of the whole DNA stuff. Like what is it? I think Ancestry.com's doing like a DNA
mm,
thing, or like
yeah, they're working
23
with
and Me, and
yeah. Oh, and just a note, guys, you can actually, if you want to do a DNA thing, you don't, and I mean, I'm not saying like you want to do this, you know, you have the habit or whatever, but like anyhow, you don't have to use your real name. Like you can just like when you send it in or whatever, like you can send in just like initials or something. You don't have to use your name. So, you know, if you're gonna do a ancestry or 23andMe or whatever they are, like at least don't put your name on the thing, you know.
yeah, probably not a good idea. And this is what it reminds me of. It reminds me of that because police are able to access those databases and use your DNA against you. And they've done this several different times. I can't think of an example offhand, but
There's a couple examples, and I've listened to podcasts about them, like the people involved talking about it. I just do not remember a name or anything. It's been a while.
yeah. Do you remember any examples offhand? I
And there was like
last time I
there was
heard of
one there was
this
like
was
a
like 3 years
murder.
ago.
Yeah, there was like a murder or something, and it was what it was like they found like DNA and they found family members of the DNA they found at the crime scene. The person who, the one that I heard, like the criminal or the murderer or whatever, they hadn't had their DNA done, but one of their family members had, and they just saw that the DNA they found at the crime scene was related to this. And then they went and talked to the family members and put it together, figured out who it was or whatever, allegedly. It was something like that. So, again, it wasn't like they found, but if the guy had a DNA test by one of these places, they would have found him directly, So, I've heard people say, oh, it's not creepy because they didn't, find somebody directly by it. I'm like, but it's the same thing, And I mean, hey, and let's say we're in a free society. I mean, who's to say that DNA companies and authorities wouldn't work together? You know what I mean? But if we had a justice system that maybe actually, didn't have such a terrible success rate and a terrible rate of imprisoning innocent people and stuff like that, maybe we wouldn't mind.
There was an
I don't know.
instance where an innocent person got really hurt from it.
Okay.
I remember now. I don't have the article offhand at all, but basically the police were able, even though the guy was innocent, the police were able to get a warrant because they went to a judge and said, hey, look, we know this guy's DNA. So they're able to get a warrant and completely destroy this guy's life. And I forget the details of it, but it was because he submitted like a 23andMe or Ancestry, DNA test.
Mhm.
So, and they share those databases are shared with police. So if you guys do anything like that, make sure it's, you're not putting a real name on it. Put Daffy Duck or something. I don't know. But
do like I did, just to let all your family members do one, and then you don't, and then you got a pretty good idea.
Yeah,
I just called my family members and put enough together.
Right. That's what I did too. Like all my family members were doing it. I'm like, I'm not doing that. And
yeah, but let me see your results.
Yeah. And so I know all my stuff because all my family. Yeah, it's crazy. But
yeah. So, but like the example I gave, you can still put them kind of close to you, but what are you going to do at that point? You're not in control of that. So, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Hey guys, quick pause here to tell you about our sponsor, Devault Cryptocurrency. Ticker symbol DVT is a low cap coin with a market cap around 900,000. So there could be room for opportunity here. Not financial advice, but we really like this project.
Yeah, the Devault core wallet is one of the best I've ever seen. Very user friendly, super easy to use with cold staking rewards. So it's like getting interest. They're working on privacy with Terraform, also DeFi to decentralize and replace financial institutions.
So go ahead and check them out over at devault.cc and get you a Devault core wallet today. Also, be sure to check out the show notes to find exchanges that they are traded on. With that said, let's get back to the show.
All right, with that, you want to roll us into our next one?
Yeah, I will. So this next one is pretty amazing. Basically, it's a and I found this through Mike Maloney. Shout out to Mike Maloney. This article is from Sprott Money, and the article title is "A Time to Fight Back." And basically, they want to fight back against the central banks and Wall Street. So very cool. And because silver prices are super manipulated by banks and government and central banks and Wall Street in general, and government has a lot of incentives to keep precious metal prices low, because if precious metal prices go through the roof, they look really bad because it means, and the central banks look bad too, because it will, obviously show currency debasement. So what they want to do, and this could be an opportunity, who knows, but what this guy wants to do in this article is he wants everyone to buy 100 ounces of physical silver, and I want to emphasize physical silver here, because that's really the only way you're going to get around these shorts, and cause serious problems for the manipulators. It's kind of like a GameStop, Wall Street Bets. You remember with Wall Street Bets where they completely destroyed these shorts from these huge hedge funds back a couple months ago.
It's
And
entertaining for sure.
yeah, definitely entertaining, but they want to do it with silver, and they want everybody to buy 100 ounces of physical silver. And I would recommend probably bullion would be best. 100 ounces of physical silver May 1st. So that way all of these hedge funds, these Wall Street people, and even central banks who are manipulating the price via shorts will have to, since they're shorting it, they'll have to buy back at higher prices. And it's really hard to destroy their shorts through ETFs because ETFs don't exactly represent that commodity. If you look at SLV, their ETF, and I haven't read their ETF data sheet for a while, but if I remember correctly, it's like they only need to have like 50% silver represents it, and the other 50% is like other silver assets, and then like a percentage that does represent the silver. Some of that is actually like paper assets, so like other silver stocks and stuff. And you can tell there's a lot of manipulation in silver prices when you look at like a stock like SLV where it says silver is at $24, but when you go to buy or sell it, it's a way higher price through these precious metal commodity exchanges. So yeah, with that said, it just looks like a great opportunity, and who knows if this actually happens. I mean, that would just be so cool. I might think about picking up just some silver now, like, even if I don't have a lot of money, just like a couple ounces here and there, just see what happens and try to contribute to this 100 ounces of physical silver to try to fight back against the system, man.
It's the system, man. It's if nothing else,
System,
here's what's cool about this. It's that you're not, no matter what, you're not going to lose on this because you're getting silver, like you're getting something, you're getting a physical something, and it never hurts to diversify, right? Like, yeah, I mean, we love crypto, but I'd say that you're foolish if you don't also have some metals and you don't also hold some fucking Federal Reserve notes.
Yeah, you want to be diversified, right?
Bottom line, if a hurricane comes, you know what I mean, and I need gas from the gas station, what are they taking? They're taking the Federal Reserve notes. If my well blows up and I need to spend $3,000 on a new pump, the well person isn't taking silver, they're taking Federal Reserve notes. I mean, I'd probably talk them into it if I had to. You know what I mean? But you get what I'm saying. You got to diversify, and it's just, being smart. And I mean, having jingly money is just so cool,
Yeah, and it's really a beautiful metal. I mean, it's nice. So, and it's very useful. It's like, so the difference between gold and silver is that silver is an industrial metal. So they use it for so much more stuff. Electronics. Even Tesla uses a lot of silver for a variety of different stuff. I think it's primarily for the batteries for electric cars.
They use a lot of silver in electronics, a little bit of gold, but not nearly as much. Definitely a lot more silver.
Solar panels use a crap ton of, and we're seeing a lot more solar stuff come out because people are trying to get away from the state grids that have a monopoly on our power and water.
Yeah, solar's awesome for independence for sure. I don't necessarily think it's a save the polar bears thing, but definitely an independence thing.
It might do something environmentally beneficial. Who knows? But
I'm not saying it
that.
doesn't. I'm just, I'm just saying on a, it's. I'm not like get solar because it's going to save, the planet. It's like, if you want something where if the power goes out, or in some places like, if you're building a house and you're 3 miles from the closest power line, like, running 3 miles of power lines is hugely, resource intensive. Where you could probably for less money build a badass solar system, and not have to have any of that.
Exactly.
So it was cool. Then another thing I was gonna say is like,
then you're not dependent on the state because
exactly.
I think eventually the state will use power and water against people. Like, okay, if you don't want to be cut off, you have to do X, Y, Z, and eventually I think it will get there because they do have a monopoly on power and water.
Mm-hmm. In a lot of places, Florida being one, even if you have your own completely self-sufficient power system, you legally have to be hooked up to the power grid still. And, that even if you don't use any power, it still costs like $25 a month, just to have the service. And it's just, goddamn. So basically, like the argument is like, well, they do that because legally the power companies are required to provide you with power and service those lines. So like I think that like on your own property you have to pay for the power lines. And that scenario I gave where you're 3 miles away from the closest power line. I think in a lot of places the power company is required to pay to get power to your property. Once it's to your property line, it's on you to extend the power lines. But so they're legally required to provide you with power. So I guess in that mindset, well, okay, yeah, you just pay for it. But obviously the issue here isn't that, oh, you should have to pay them, because it's the issue is that they're required to do that, by the state. So instead of just making more laws to make everybody pay for it, why do we just not require the power companies? And whatever, we all get it. Like you said, man, there's just such status institutions these days, whether they want to be or not. They're just required to be, and it's really unfortunate. I think if we get power production and like trash into like private hands, I think that would be like the best thing for like the environment. And power especially, I think that'd be just so great for people, because energy is a huge expense, and that's what allows us to be modern and do all the amazing things that we can do, is having good cheap energy.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, I think well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think pretty much any power company that supplies power is like a status. Aren't they government? They're all government, right?
No, they have a lot of laws and stuff that govern how they work. So there's a few things. So like the one that I have is actually really great. It's a co-op. So like I get a check at the end of the year if they have extra money, like left over they didn't use. Like I get a check. It's not much. It's like $40, but it happens sometimes. Then there's some like, okay, so then and again, this probably varies greatly state to state. But so Duke Energy is a big power company here, and they have a lot of like power plants and everything. And it's funny though, because like I want to say like they're private, but I mean, how can you differentiate it? Because here was a big issue they had a few years ago. They had this power plant, it was failing, it needed all this work, they couldn't afford to fix it. So they actually, like the county imposed a tax on the citizens to pay to fix up this power plant. They taxed the citizens and they never fucking fixed up the power plant. That power plant still has not produced any more electricity. It's like some old failing nuclear plant too. So, it's one you kind of want to be in good shape. So all the citizens just got completely screwed, and they never got their power plant. So, I mean, we could have a whole debate about to even call that a private company or not at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I really don't know. I mean, I don't know how to answer the question 100%, because it's just one of those things. It's like, if you want to be like a telecom company, you got to play ball with the government or you don't get to exist. There's so many industries that are just like that. So it's like, really, how much can you call them a private company? Maybe a little bit, but
yeah, then that's how banking was too. Before crypto was, you had to play ball with the government or else you couldn't exist. But but all my power, everywhere that I've lived, all my power has been through the city, which is a government, which has been government companies. So
and
huge monopolies.
City I lived in,
huge monopolies for me, and they can jack up my prices, and I can't do anything about it. I can't go to anybody else. It really makes you want to get off grid and do your own thing. And I'll get there. I'll get there eventually. I'm pretty close. So, but yeah, was there anything else you wanted to cover on that? We'll have the links to all these articles in the show notes below. So if you guys want to check them out, they're really good articles. And was there anything else you wanted to cover on that before we moved on?
Not really. I don't think I already said this. Is it just me, or is gold ugly? Why do everyone think gold is pretty? I don't think gold's pretty. I think silver's cool looking. I think gold's ugly. I don't know. Or maybe it just looks tacky.
I think gold's prettier, but silver's more useful. And like, have you actually held like a little gold ounce or a gold coin in your hand?
Yeah, I mean, other than the fact that I just like know what it's worth. I mean, that's pretty sexy, but
right. Super sexy.
Yeah. But no, that's all I got.
All right, let's take a quick second to shout out Agorist Acre Seeds. Agoristacres.com stocks a variety of seeds for your garden or homestead. They also have really cool packaging instead of those silly paper envelopes.
Buy seeds with crypto, support the counter economy, and become self-sustaining today. Agorist Acres offers fast shipping so you can get started right away.
Make sure you use code Nexus10 at the checkout for 10% off of your orders. Also, they will donate a portion of the sale to Agorist Nexus, helping to bring you all the great content you expect. And all right, let's get on with it.
Yeah, so we'll move on. This other one is interesting because it just kind of shows you like what central banks are all about and like what they do and stuff. So this one's from Zero Hedge, and it basically talks about the Nikkei index and how prices have tumbled. And it dropped like more than like 1,000 points on April 21st. And this is because there was a problem in the market, and the central bank was expected to purchase ETFs to prop up this market, and they didn't. The thing is that they were expected to, like everyone expected them to, and they have been doing it for at least 5 years at least. So it just shows you like whenever it's convenient for them, they'll throw people under the bus. They won't do what they say. They'll manipulate the market however they want. It just kind of shows you like maybe we need to start getting out of Wall Street. Nothing here is financial advice, but maybe we need to start getting out of Wall Street because I mean I did. I got out of I was a trader for 10 years, so I got out of Wall Street at least 5 years ago, and it's been at least 5 years now. So, but yeah, I think it really kind of shows you like, we need to get kind of leave these status institutions if we can, and not support Wall Street and these central bankers because when you play with stocks and stuff, there's no way you're going to beat these huge whales and central banks. It's just not going to happen. I mean, there are money making opportunities, of course. But there's money making opportunities everywhere, right? We've got gold, silver, and crypto. So and hopefully something else comes along where completely disruptive, whatever it may be, comes along and helps us out. I want to see everything be disrupted by the power structures. What are your thoughts on this, Dag? Oh, the article is by Zero Hedge. The title is And first, since 2016, Japanese investors panic after stocks tumble, and Bank of Japan refuses to buy ETFs. So it's a pretty good article. It's not long at all. Definitely check it out. And what are your thoughts on it, Dag?
I like what you said where you're like, they don't do what they're gonna say, or they don't help people out, and it's there's not a lot of opportunity. I mean, there is opportunity, I guess, for like regular people, to make dough on like the stock market and everything. But I don't know, I don't think there's much you can do to just generally make like a ton of money easily on it. I really think that when I say they, not even like a person or a goal by a particular person, just the general nature of the bureaucracy and the beast of government. Here's an example of what I'm trying to say. Okay, so when the whole Robinhood thing was happening, a couple months ago with GameStop and everything, didn't they like stop it where you couldn't buy anymore after a certain point? Like they cut off like trading for GameStop.
Yeah, Robinhood did that. Yeah,
so like when regular schmoes like you or me, or like the fucking boys that I know at the shop I work at, like they're sitting there making like a killing, finally a chance to get ahead and do something with the system. Yeah, and they and they just cut them off. But when fucking the big banks just fuck everything up and get bailed out, again and again, it's it's just like I don't know, that shit like that is the reason why I don't even want to play in their fucking games like this. You know what I mean? It's like,
because they'll just change the rules. They'll move the goalpost. It's not really a winning game. You can't really win. That they've got all the power and they'll change the rules. And that's one thing I love about crypto is that they can't change. They can't change it. And if they do, we'll just fork off and do our own thing. That's kind of what happened with Bitcoin. I mean,
privacy coins.
That's what happened with the BTC version of Bitcoin. It was co-opted to try to make it slow and create a third-party trustee system with Lightning Network, and Bitcoin Cash forked off. So yeah, that's the real truth of why Bitcoin Cash forked, is because central bankers funded a company called Blockstream that wanted to make Bitcoin slow, and so they brilliantly propagandized the market to believe that Lightning Network would be something that it's not, and that that small blocks are good for the network, and that the white paper doesn't really matter. So and so yeah, they co-opted they successfully co-opted the biggest cryptocurrency, and we had to, fork off from that. So
I think I've brought this up before, but it's really unfortunate that like the just the existence of the Federal Reserve and everything has just sort of made it where, because your money, loses value so consistently, it's like you have to invest in the stock market, in order to have any sort of savings or stay afloat or whatever. So it's like they really force people into this. And it's just so beautiful that now we're coming out with currencies that we can just have, and they increase in value, actually having something at least closer to real money, it's just a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, something that that will most likely increase in value, and yeah, it's just been great, and I am so grateful for crypto and what it's done for us to be able to get out of their systems and not have to play their games where they change the rules and manipulate everything. So.
Mm-hmm. And it's like it starts with currency, right? I mean, that's really important. But then, of course, like we were mentioning earlier, just all the other, and a lot of it's so over my head, but like just some of the other cool, like, just things that technology opens up that we can eliminate the state from. So things like, tokenization and NFTs and just I don't know, man. There's just so much stuff, out there that this is going to be able to replace. It's just going to make the state obsolete, hopefully,
Yeah.
in so many ways, or at least in certain areas.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And our audience is so smart. They they probably already know this, but I do want to throw it out there anyway. And with tokenization, I mean, you can create whole entire stock markets without needing the SEC, and it's so cool. And yeah, I love it. And I talked about that in an article called Agorism and Breaking the Chains of the State. So if you guys want to check that article out, definitely do so. But yeah, anything else on that, Dag?
Nah, man, no, the actual nuts and bolts of this kind of stuff like this article is it's a little much for me. I'm new to this. Like I'm sitting here, dude. So here, you're a stock guy. Tell me, is this a word that's common? There was a 2% puke in the market. That's not a typo. Puke is a word.
Puke. Where are you seeing that? Let me see if I can read the sentence.
It's let's see, 2 paragraphs up from the second graph, the BOJ ETF and J REIT purchases. 2 paragraphs above it. I assume that means that, I don't know, a lot of sales.
Yeah. That's what
Some
they're
sort of
referring
purge.
to. Yeah.
Ooh, if you're gonna binge, you gotta purge.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh shit. All right. So what do we got next? We're gonna talk about the post office.
Yeah, might as well. Yeah, go for it.
Right. So we all know the post office sucks, but the post office has like it's really some funny stories behind it. They've got like the postal inspector service, or not service. It's whatever. It's some sort of law enforcement agency. Yes, they have SWAT teams. There was something. What was it? Roger Stone? Not Roger Stone. One of the Trump guys that they arrested. They arrested like on his yacht, and it was like the postal inspectors or whatever. There's a silly TV show about it. Anyhow, apparently they also have been doing like spying work. Basically, they've been doing a lot of social media stuff, monitoring social media, and then reporting to what's called fusion centers. We talked about it before on the show, but they're basically these information gathering centers, for the government. And so let's say your local sheriff or whatever decides he doesn't like you for whatever reason. There's a lot of information that they can just go gather from the NSA and everything on you. They can get a lot of metadata from you. They can get things like license plate scan, so they can see like where you drive and everything. You don't necessarily have to get GPS, but they can see like, you know, where you drive, all this stuff. They don't need a warrant for this stuff. And a lot of times these other intelligence agencies, let's say they find out there's going to be a drug deal, they can alert the cops can go bust them. And then because this is all like top secret, the cops are allowed to completely make up the investigation. It's called parallel investigation. They're able to make up an investigation to, you know, like fake how they got this information to get the warrants to go bust these people. And you're not allowed to know as a defendant, so you're not allowed to even like properly defend yourself. And
Wow.
like this happens, like this happens all the time. And I'm sorry, this isn't even in this article, this is just just came up, but it's something that they do. So
Yeah.
you know, you really got to be like, you know, aware of this. Some of the stuff that this came out with, I guess, was some protests and things like that. They've been gathering information on protests, a lot of social media stuff. They hang out on social media and look into, you know, whoever they don't like at the time. Right now it's whoever they label as right-wing extremists. So that's, you know, that's a lot of people, unfortunately, who really don't fall into that category. But at any rate, it's anybody they can label as that. So, you know, what really sucks about this is I think Yahoo News is the people who like got the information and came out with this. Like the shittiest news agency like ever is the one who actually came out with this. Again, like we brought up on this show before, where are the fucking big news people on something like this? You know, because people should be upset about this, but
yeah, and it is big news. Yeah, and you don't
Yeah.
see CNN and all these, you know, but a lot of people think that that we've got private companies doing news in this country, and that's really not the case. They're all really not private.
yeah,
at
like we
all.
were talking about before, you know, they're so in bed with them, and like I made this point a million times, but you have to get a license from the government to have a TV station. So I mean, I think in effect we can say it's all state media, because if they don't want to give you that license, they're not gonna. So if you're saying something they don't want to say, or you don't play by their rules, like I mean, just the FCC's like rules and what they're allowed to do and what they're allowed to control, like in general, there's like a whole court thing about it when they came into being, like, yeah, no, the Constitution just doesn't apply on television. You know, we're allowed to control what you can say. It's silly, but
not to bring up Operation Mockingbird too, but then, you know, then you've got the CIA infiltrating every single major news outlet. So
but yeah, so they're spying on you too. You know, probably no shocker to any of us. And what's funny, we were talking about this before.
I guess my question for you. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, it's just funny because it's what they're doing doesn't have anything to do with mail. It's not like they're investigating mail. It's not like they're checking mail for terrorism stuff. You know what I mean? Like it'd be a terrible, like, you know, a blatant like privacy issue if they're like opening mail and reading it, right? But it's like at least that would like be in line with what they do, which is mail. You know, here they're just trolling fucking
at
social
the
media
post
and reporting.
office. Yeah.
So it's silly. But what were you gonna say?
So I guess my question for you is, how would somebody try to get around being spied on in this manner?
Don't use shitty social media services. Don't use Google. You know, again, this wasn't anything mail related. I mean, who uses the mail anymore anyhow? I mean, you're sending correspondence through the mail. I don't know, it might be one of the safest ways, to be honest, these days. Don't be on stupid right-wing Telegram groups, you know, talking about storming the Capitol. That'd probably be a good thing to do, is don't do stupid stuff like that. But I mean, I hate that makes me sound like, yeah, don't do anything wrong, you don't have anything to fear. But I mean, it's, you know, don't be stupid, I guess.
Yeah, just basically have good operational security, right? Like that's
and I mean,
that's really
it sucks because it's so hard to even trust any platform these days, right? Because even like Keybase that I like is like, didn't like Zoom buy them or something, and like now it's like, you know,
it's a Chinese company, right?
Know?
But I mean, the thing is like I'd rather be spied on by the Chinese than by the US. That's just me personally.
Yeah.
Everyone has to pick.
Keybase, so like
everyone has to occasionally, I mean, everyone has to occasionally pick their own spies, right? And me personally, it's more beneficial for me because most of the time the Chinese are going to be like, whatever, in my case, but who knows what the US might do to some guy kind of like me in So
Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know. That's it. Post office sucks. Monopoly on letter carrying. What are you gonna do?
yeah, and I think that's pretty much all we
So
got
yeah,
today.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Do we want to say anything about just crypto in general? BTC tumbled. It actually did drop quite a bit. It was like I think I saw it back down into the 40s. There briefly.
Yeah, pretty much everything tumbled except for
Yeah, except for R.
pirate chain. So
That's been pretty incredible. So
yeah, good for
that
them.
that
Good
yeah.
for
Hey,
them.
that was my first episode on the Nexus as co-host. Was we were interviewing them, so we've had them on here before.
Yeah, yeah. It's decent project, and I love privacy coins. So
Yeah, yeah.
um,
It definitely seems like a cool privacy coin, and yeah, just it going. It's funny because like I think there was even didn't like regular stocks like our stock market didn't they drop or something here this week or today? Did something happen?
yeah, I think so. Well, I can
It's
double
just
check
great
that
that
real
when
quick.
yeah all this craziness and other stock markets and cryptos just consistently being pretty cool.
Yeah, the Dow Jones futures dropped, and
I was keeping an eye on BCH too, obviously, and yeah, it was it dropped a little bit. Like I think I saw it went down to like 7, and I was like, oh, but then I checked it like the next morning, and it was like back up in the 9s. I was like, okay, cool. You know, it seems to be hanging out up there pretty consistently now. That's great. It's like seeing something like R where something really jumps like that is really cool, but it's like I kind of I mean I want to see everything go up, but it's like I'd like to see some sort of less volatility and a little more regularity or predictability just because I feel like that's kind of what we're going to need for people to really start using it as like, like maybe like mass adoption to use as like a general currency for like trade. And I don't know if that's ill-founded. I just feel like when things climb really quickly, people just want to hold it, which not necessarily anything wrong with that, but come on, we got to spend it. So I don't know. I don't know.
yeah, I don't. I mean, I don't really hate on any crypto.
Yeah.
I want them all to do good. I'm glad Pirate's doing good. So good for you guys. Yeah, I've purchased Pirate in the past, so I've been happy with that coin, and hopefully it continues to do good. So with that said, yeah, and it's kind of cool seeing something. Even Presearch has kind of stayed around the same price. They haven't really dropped too much.
Yeah.
Which has been
Yeah.
cool too. So, but yeah. With that said, I think we should finish up with the quote and study. Unless you have something else.
Nah, man, that's it, dude. I think we covered a bunch. You got a quote handy?
Yeah, I do. I do. In a time of deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. George Orwell. Agora Seeds out.
Peace.